Greetings to the 12 tribes of the children of Israel scattered abroad. In the name of Jehovah our Creator and Jesus Christ of Nazareth, our King, I'm Lily of the Valley. And today's topic is some people prefer to be slaves. And sometimes your own people will join up with the oppressors and the slave owners to enslave your own kind. People can be bought, they can be sold, okay? So in this book, The Finsack Experience, Too Black to Succeed by Valerie Dixon, it tells you there were black slaves who joined patrols of the slave owners to fight the Maroons who wanted to free them from slavery. If you think that's far-fetched, check your own brethren. Check Marcus Garvey. They had black people infiltrate his movement and falsely accuse him and put him in jail and derail it. Alexander Bedwood, same thing happened. They tell you that you're crazy. All of us who prophesy know what I'm talking about, and then they put you in jail. Or they take your stuff, or they send you to asylum, and they target your wealth. It's usually they have a list of wealthy people, influential people, list of people who can fight and get things done, and they infiltrate them with their own, or they put marriages or women, all of that stuff. Look how Solomon's kingdom was infiltrated by strange women, and then his kingdom collapsed. Remember, look at Joseph. It was Joseph's brethren who sold him into slavery. Yeah, they were the ones who thought of it, his own brothers. Okay, look at Jesus Christ of Nazareth. It was Judas, his own tribe member, who turned him over to the Romans for 30 pieces of silver. So you had the Maroons, of which we are, fighting for their freedom, but they had the slave masters with a slave army. Look at the loyalists, the ones for Britain and against Britain. The same thing in the War of Independence, the war for the South. Some people did not want to be free. Harriet Tubman told you she could have freed more slaves if only they knew they were slaves. And some of them did not want it to be free. House slaves are comfortable. There are people who sell out their own countries to the slave master. Notice how many of them support Mark Golden, how many of them have black faces but sell your property to the white man and the colored man, the Arab, the Chinese, and they will not do it for their own people. It's happening now in Jamaica as we speak. So we don't know of Britain paying the any black slave owners any compensation, or colored ones. They would have to give us the breakdown, but that would be, it happens now where our own people, look at the PNP right now on the Mark Golden issue. It's a classic example. Some people prefer to be ruled by slave masters and slave controllers, and they will sell out and kill their own people to get it done. So in this book, you're gonna see that the Maroons who were fleeing the slaves and buying them, because amongst our records we have a lot of slaves that the Maroon caught. Some were returned because they didn't want to be Maroons. They didn't want to be free. And some were coming there to infiltrate Maroon country and to show their positions to the enemy, which happens now with the Finsack list. They had the list of the biggest and the brightest Jamaicans and the richest ones. They stole their properties, their lands, their business, their houses, their wealth, and they gave it to the slave owners, such as the DB&Gs, the all those hotels that went to these WHITE successful people, yeah, they stole that land from the Negroes. So when you see Maroons send people back and expose them, there are many others who will join with the oppressor to destroy their own bloodline. So if you look at this book, Machiavelli ThePrince, it tells you that there were people who, if you raise them, they will come back and take you out if they have their designs against you and what you have. Whether they're your mother, father, uncle, brother, sister, it don't matter to them. Some people, you don't know what motivates them. So in our times, during the rule of Alexander VI, Oliverotto da Fermo, his parents having died many years before, was brought up by his uncle Giovanni Fogliani. In the early years of his youth, he was sent to fight under Pagolo Vitelli, so that being trained under his discipline, he might attain some high position in the military profession. After Pagolo died, he fought under his brother Vitellozzo, and in a very short time, being clever and capable, he became the leading man in his profession. But he did not like serving under others. So he resolved, with the aid of some citizens of Fermo, to whom the slavery of their country was more important than his liberty. Hear that? With the help of the Vitellici, to seize Fermo. So he knew they liked being slaves. So he said, yeah, we're going to conquer them. So he wrote to his uncle Giovanni Fogliani that, having been away from home for many years, he wished to visit him and his city. He wanted to look at what his parents had left him. He said that although he had not labored to acquire anything except honor, he wanted the citizens of Fermo to see he had not spent his time in vain. Thus he would be accompanied by 100 of his soldiers, his friends, and servants. He begged Giovanni to arrange for him to be received honorably by the Fermians, in recognition of not only his own achievement, but also those of Giovanni himself, who had brought him up. So Giovanni therefore did his best for his nephew. Oliverotto was honorably received by the Fermians, and he stayed in his uncle's own house. After several days, and having arranged what was necessary for his wicked designs, Oliverotto gave a formal dinner to which he invited Giovanni Fogliani and the leaders of Fermo. When the food and all the other usual entertainment were finished, Oliverotto began to speak of serious matters, speaking of the greatness of Pope Alexander and his son Cesare. This is the Cesare that they have as the image of Christ, but he's the son of Pope Alexander VI. So look up Cesare Borgia. So Giovanni and others replied to this speech, but Oliver then rose at once, saying that such matters ought to be discussed in a more private place. He went into another room, and Giovanni and the rest of the citizens went in after him. No sooner were they seated than the soldiers came out from their secret places and killed Giovanni and the rest. After these murders, Oliverotto rode up and down the town on horseback and besieged the governing council. The people were afraid and were forced to obey him and to form a government with Oliverotto as the prince. He killed all those who were able to injure him and strengthened himself with new civil and military laws in such a way that in the year during which he held the principality, not only was he secure in the city of Fermo, but he had become more powerful than all his neighbors. His destruction would have been as difficult as that as Agathocles if he had not allowed himself to be tricked by Cesare Borgia. 1 year after he had committed the murder of his uncle, he was killed. So this is when wicked people form governments. You can't trust them. And when people love being slaves, they will be enslaved. Read Psalm 109. Wicked people get wicked people put over them to rule over them. And you see the people them who take money for their democracy and stuff, you notice them democracy they not last long. Them have too much people to pay, too much enemies, too much crooks, too much all of that to go on there. So this is how you know not everybody wants to be free. Some people want to be ruled by their oppressors because they promise them all kind of positions, but they know say the same wickedness where them put themselves in power, they gonna kill or ruin all of those around them because they already know they can't trust each other. So you're having Too Black to Succeed, Miss Dixon's book, The Black Shots. It says there were slave patrols that the slave masters formed to go and fight against the Maroons who were trying to free the slaves because, as we said, not everybody wanted to be free. Look at what happened to Durus and stuff. You have these extradition agreements, these treaty with foreign governments, or people are always being sent overseas to face trial, but their people never come to Jamaica to face trial. So what's the difference between that? When you see Maroon country had to fight against its own people who joined with the planters and the whites to enslave them, which is why you have many Maroon countries now where no one who is not full-blooded Maroon forever can come there and live there. And you notice a lot of the Maroon communities that are infiltrated by people who don't study history. So they have a lot of the chiefs, especially down in a compound. You see the sodomites, them infiltrate that. Then you have the other one where you sorcery infiltrate that, and polytheism, idolatry, ancestor worship. They know that when they infiltrate Maroons, they gotta come with some type of sin, and that weakens them, and then that destroys them. So this is just for educational purposes, just from this page. If y'all wanna read the whole thing about the black shots who were those slaves who joined with the planters to go and fight and destroy the Maroons. They also sent a lot of other West Indians or American Indians to fight the Maroons, such as the Mosquito Indians. They were destroyed as well because we are fighting people. We fight on behalf of Jehovah. So you can get this book, and it's on page 18, 17, thereabouts. Those were the slaves, the Negroes who were joined with the enemy of the children of Israel, the enemies of the Negroes and Negresses who had them in slavery. They joined with them to go and fight the Maroons. Yeah. So it's survival of the fittest. Either they destroy you or you gonna destroy them. So the same thing is happening now with this whole constitutional reform, where a lot of them, as you can see, will join with the whites, the oppressors, the coloureds, the Arabs, the Chinese, to enslave their own people and give them big positions too, to make laws to kill them, such as the zones of special operations, the GUN running, and they set them against each other to destroy each other. So when the country don't destroy now, they're moving for them people to enjoy it. So we've been warning and training our people to just fight first and to go on offense, because when they take up shots and position in your country and call themselves big shot, Maybe that's why they call themselves black shot, because they come for practice upon black people for shoot them. Yeah. So you can look at this page and it'll tell you why the Maroons had to sign back some of them over and ban all WHITES, mix, coloureds, all of them people there from out of our neighborhoods or settlements or countries and or mates. The Most already told us that they are not good people. Read Psalm 83. They always have some type of scheme to get rid of us and our wealth and our children, and they come with degeneracy. Read Psalm 83, read Psalm 1, read Psalm 2. We follow Jehovah first, and that's who we fight for, and our own bloodline people, not mixed people, not any other nation. They are already fighting for themselves. We have to fight for those Negroes and Negresses who want to preserve their lineages, their holiness, their righteousness, the laws of Jehovah in the earth, and their nations, the Sabbaths, the laws, the statutes, the commandments, the ordinances, the faith of Jesus Christ of Nazareth. That's who we train and fight for. And anybody who comes from Arabia, from Islam, etc., they are enemies of Christ because they kill Christians. So we fight them too. With that, I say shalom. They need to repent or perish.